with that email just came in, and I'm a production person, and I'm going to go to a function called turn-in. I see an email and I open the billing sheet and I notice that the job number report is turning in today is a 12216. So I enter the job number, enter again, and it brings up a turn-in screen, which is also, by the way, billing screen. Remember that first step is to add witnesses. So that's a step number one. So I simply go new, and Young Lee's name pops up. This is the name that calendar person entered at the time of scheduling, which now you have a chance to correct it if it's a misspelling or it's not complete. Let's say it's all right, so I just tap down to the units. I look at the transcript, it says 135 pages. Now deduct is used for those firms that pad your transcript by adding word index pages at the end and inflate the number of pages you bill, but you do not pay those pages to the code reporter. So that's what deduct is. One example might be that total billing page will be 135. I'm deducting 10 pages before I pay the reporter. So actually the page is 1 through 125. So something like that might work. Nowadays, I heard some lawsuits and all that, so we don't do that anymore. So let's say actually it's 125 pages, no deduct. Now this time there were no exhibits, so there are no exhibits marking here. Lisa Welch was the co-reporter assigned. It's very important that you make sure that you verify the name, because that is the reporter will be paid from this witness from RB8. Now you have an actual start time, end time. If you're doing video conferencing or a charge by hour video, you might put in a actual end time, start time here. The additional tab is not to be used at this point, but this is to keep track of the original transcripts that, like in California, maybe we keep it 30 days in the office and we send it out either to the ordering attorney or to the court. And when I do send it out, I like to keep track of the location, how I sent it, the read and sign agreement requirements of our state, and all that will be filled in here later. At this point, I like to save this witness to get this third tab, repository tab. This is where I'm going to upload the billing sheet and an ASCII file. So you go new, select files. I'm going to where I downloaded my ASCII. So let's say this was the ASCII the reporter sent me. And I'm going to change this to ASCII. And then I will not publish this particular file to the RB web, because this is the file that we might have to edit, correct it. So client doesn't need to see this. This might not even be a final ASCII anyway. Okay, I'm just to save that. And if you have a billing sheet, you will also upload the billing sheet here at the same time. At this point, typically you guys have to go out and then go into another program and convert that ASCII by entering all the job information and to a condensed transcript. In RB8 now, you can simply go ahead and click this button, Create PDF Transcript, and it will pull up your global settings, which you are able to change on the fly just for this one job. Otherwise, I'll just simply go ahead and say, nope, no changes for this one. And then next screen comes up is ASCII Viewer. It lets you see the ASCII file here, and you compare the information that RB is giving you, make sure that you are in the right job and the right case and right job date and so on. And you can also edit the ASCII if there are errors. Then save and close, and within few seconds RB8 will go ahead and convert this page image ASCII file into a PDF transcript along with a condensed version right next to it. So now it's bringing up the Acrobat viewer. So there is our full-size transcript, there is our word index, and there is our word list. I want to archive this to the repository. You go to condensed version of it, and then you also want to say archive this one to the repository, and then say you're done. Okay. Now that literally took us a minute to convert the ASCII into full-size PDF and condensed PDF, and they are both published to the RB web for our clients by storing them onto the repository. At this point, the last step the production person will do will be sending notifications. Except if I go in there, I only have a noticing attorney, Daniel Berg, because I haven't entered parties yet. So I cannot do this step yet because I need to come back to this function after I enter all the parties. Whether billing person does it or production department does it, it's up to you guys. One thing about this turn-in screen is that since we do both production turn-in and the billing with the same screen, it's really hard to set apart which part is done by the production department and which part is done by the billing department. Obviously, it's up to each firm. If you're a small firm, one person does everything, then it doesn't really matter. But if you're a large firm and you have a production department totally separate from the billing department, then you guys need to work out what portion needs to be done by whom. Let's move over to the billing portion of it. Now, production person just did the witness thing, and he did the conversion, and he uploads ASCIIs and exhibits and all that kind of good stuff. And then billing person gets notified. Starting with the step number 2, that's where billing person will come in. Remember the prefill definition, that is to add multiple items with a single click. Well, anytime you see prefill button, always go ahead and use that button first. So I'm going to go ahead and prefill here. Remember the Russian doll, the 3 dolls inside? You can prefill from case. This case is a not huge managed case. So nobody entered any parties in here. From job, only attorney I see is the noticing attorney, which will be usually the case, unless you had the notice and then a calendar person entered the parties here. And the previous turn-in will be blank. This tells me that this is the very first deposition we are billing for on this case. This will be typically the case when you are billing the first job on a case. All you're going to see is the noticing attorney. So I say, I want him. You click on it and you simply say save and close. So that'll generate one invoice. Oh, by the way, let me go ahead and fix that because he is actually the original ON1 client. Now, I look at the reporter's billing sheet and I see 3 more attorneys. So it looks like this is going to be a ON4. So let's do that quickly. I exhausted my prefill option, so now I have to go to add a new one. So we look up a contact. The first name I see is Mr. Stephen Pettit, so I'm just going to type any part of the name. Wow, my lucky day. We have that attorney already in the system, so I'm just going to select that. I don't see any insurance information for Stephen Pettit, so I'm going to assume that bill to is the same as the sold to, and he's ordering the Young list transcript. Everything else is okay. Save and close. I go to new again, look up contact, and this time Mr. Timothy Rice. Another lucky day, Timothy Rice. Obviously, I'm selecting the ones I already have, but in your case, if it's an out-of-town attorney, I'm sure you have to do new here to save time. I'm just selecting the one we have here. Again, same as the sold to, no difference. And the last attorney is a David Stratford. And he's also same as a bill to sold to. That gives me 4 invoices, and in the step number 3 it automatically generates the 4 orders, and they look the same because I only have a 1 witness. And then next job I turn in, you will see that I'll have 2 witnesses, so it'll be a little different. So now only part left for me to do is the part 4, and this is where we're supposed to enter all the service items. What are we billing to these guys? Again, remember in the step number 3, I see another button with a prefill. This time it's called prefill services. That's where billing set come in. Let's start with a ON1 client first. That's as a billing person, that's my habit. So I highlight Daniel Berg, I prefill. My billing set comes up. This is my McDonald's menu system. So these are the ones that I set up. My default comes up as an ON1 standard full day. And these are typical items that we usually bill on that particular case. Except on this job, there are no exhibits. So I'm going to uncheck that box. I noticed that something coming up here, it's called preferred services. Now where is it coming from? When you set up Daniel Berg, your client, he told you that he's a summation user. He always liked to have an amicus format of the ASCII disk. And I usually used to have this in a yellow sticky note and on my wall all over the place. Now RB8 contains the information in the profile of the contact under the tab called Preferred Services. So every time I go to billing or production, it shows me that. So I go, oops, I almost forgot. So I'm going to save and close. With that, it pulled all that in there. I move down to the copy attorney, first guy, Stephen Pettit, prefill services. Now he doesn't like a Big Mac, he likes fish sandwich. So I need to change the menu to copy. These are the typical copy items again, no exhibits on here. And then he said ASCII disk, but since I'm including ASCII disk, I don't have to select it again, so I just can save and close. Now, well, this is fun, this is fast, except I don't want to keep doing this for the rest of the guys, because at this point I only have 2 more attorneys, but it could be 20 more attorneys, it could be 95 more attorneys. There has to be a better way for me to do rest of the copy orders, and there is, and it's called copy services. What you do is that you finish the first copy guy, which I did. I have 4 items listed on the quadrant number 4 here. And then you go, you know what, I like to copy what I just did to the rest of the attorneys. So you click on the copy services button and you say select all of them except Daniel Berg, because he's an all-in-one attorney. Okay, so that should give you exactly same items, all the rest of them. Or what if, they are slightly different? Like a David Stratford, the guy was waiting at the hotel and he said, I want that transcript right now before I leave for the airport. So normally we do postage, but at that time we had to do courier service. No big deal. It's still faster for me to copy it and then do a minor adjustments. I don't need a postage, so I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to add an item under my delivery subgroup called courier. And that's it. Then save and add. Now the last thing for me to do is to specify the billing rate table and calculate the invoice. Now it is very important because if you look at the quadrant number 3 here, you notice that there are 4 attorneys, but they have a different billing rate group. Daniel Berg is preferred. That means that's your good client and they give you a lot of depots and a lot of jobs. So you decided to give them a special price, which I call preferred rates. On the other hand, these 3 attorneys, that are most of them are out-of-town attorneys, they don't get any special deal. I just simply charge them my default rate, which I call a standard. You can see right away in RB8, unlike RB7, you are able to assign a different rate table to different attorneys. That can be very flexible, but at the same time it can be very time consuming if I have to go into every single order and specify the rate table. So I don't want to do that. But this one I have to, because this one is different from the rest of it. So let's go into this preferred client first. Double click into it. And next to the billing rate, I'm going to look up all my rates under preferred group. So under the preferred group, I have 5 rates. Today it's going to be depot regular, not technical medical or videotaped or telephone, whatever, just the regular. So I'm going to select that rate. That's it, save. So I took care of him. But the rest of the attorneys, since they're all on the same group, there has to be a better way. Better way is called set rates. So you go into set rates and you go, you know what, show me the standard rates, and I'm going to use the depot regular rate. Select that. Apply to all the copy orders except all-in-one, and you go save. So that assigns the same rate table to all the copy orders at once. Now, even though it says depot regular, I named it exactly same. Remember, inside the prices are different. The depot regular of the standard is different from the depot regular of preferred group. You need to name these billing rate groups and billing rate tables that make sense to you. So at this point, with that, I'm done. I calculate invoices for all 4 of them. And before I go out to actual print out these invoices, I can check right here. Your screen might not look like this. I rearrange the columns basically so that my total bill column is right next to total pay, because when I calculate invoices, I want to see not only the amount I'm billing to each client, but I also want to see at the same time amount I'm paying to the co-reporter side by side, so I can go check quickly. So this one is a $365 versus $218.75, which makes sense. So I can quickly check by going through these orders what's missing, what's wrong, whatever.